There's a big difference between doing the right thing and protecting yourself out of fear. When you really understand that there is no separate you to protect, you become like water. Water doesn't fight with the rocks in its way. It doesn't build walls against the wind. It just flows around, over, and through whatever it meets. And by doing this, it slowly shapes everything it touches. Think about this. Every time you defend yourself, you are actually saying that there is something to defend. You are making stronger the idea of being separate, the belief that you are a weak person that can be hurt by words, by what people think, by the thoughts of others. But what if you just didn't react? What if when someone said mean things about you, you listened with real interest instead of getting upset right away? What if you could hear their words not as an attack on who you are, but as information, as their opinion, as another wave moving in the big ocean of life? I once knew a woman who spent her whole life explaining herself to others. Every choice she made, every decision, everything she liked had to be explained, defended, made okay to the invisible judges she carried in her head. She tired herself trying to prove that she was good enough, smart enough, worth enough. And then one day something changed. She realized that she had been putting herself on trial for crimes that were only in her mind. She saw how tired she had been defending herself against blame that no one was actually making. The moment she stopped defending, something amazing happened. People stopped attacking, not because they had changed, but because there was suddenly nothing to attack. She had become like Thesky, big and open, not bothered by the weather that moved through it. You see, most of what we call attacks are actually just other people showing their own confusion, their own fear, their own desperate need to be right about something in a world that often makes no sense at all. When someone says mean things about you, they are usually telling you more about themselves than they are about you. The man who calls you lazy is often scared of his own ability to bestill. The woman who says you are selfish is usually struggling with feeling bad about her own needs. The person who attacks your choices is often questioning their own. But when you take these things personally, when you defend against them, you become mixed up in their confusion. You enter into a dance of both being confused where both of you forget that you are playing parts in a big play. What would happen if you simply stepped out of that dance? What if you refuse to play the game of attack and defense? This doesn't mean becoming uncaring or cold. It means seeing that true strength comes not from building walls, but from having no walls to keep up. True safety comes not from defending a position, but from having no fixed position to defend. Think about this puzzle. The more desperately you try to protect your image, your good name, your idea of yourself, the more weak and easy to hurt you become. You're like someone trying to carry water in a basket. The harder you try to hold it, the more it slips through your fingers. But when you stop grabbing, when you stop trying to control how others see you, you discover something amazing. You are already whole. You were always whole. The approval you are looking for, the praise you are chasing, the respect you are demanding, none of it could add anything to what you already are. There's an old story about a teacher who was wrongly blamed for being a baby's father in the village. The town's people came to him with their anger, their blame, their demands for answers. The teacher simply said, "Is that so?" and took the child to raise as his own. Years later, the real father was found, and the same town's people came back with their apologies, their praise for his patience, their respect for his character. And again, the teacher simply said, "Is that so?" and gave the child back to its real parents. Do you see what he was doing? He wasn't defending himself when attacked, and he wasn't making himself look good when praised. Not because he didn't care, but because he knew that what he really was couldn't be touched by words, by opinions, by the short storms that blow through people's minds. But there's where it gets really interesting. When you stop defending yourself, you also stop attacking others because you realize that there is no other person to attack. The person who bothers you, who challenges you, who seems to be against you, is simply another wave in the same ocean. Another part of the same basic reality. The wise people have always known this. They talk about the basic oneness that is under all the different things we see. They see through the game of being separate, the trick of different people fighting each other to be the best. When you really see this, when you really feel it deep inside, something wonderful happens. You can be fully in life without being a twar with it. You can play your part in the human story without taking it so seriously that you lose your ability to laugh about the whole thing. You become like an actor who knows he's on stage. He can play the part of the hero or the bad guy with full energy, but he doesn't go home at night believing he actually is that character. Let's be clear. He knows it's a show, a dance, a game of life exploring itself through many different forms. Now you might ask, but what about fairness? What about standing up for what's right? If I never defend myself, won't people treat me badly? Won't bad things win? Now, these are good questions, and they point to an important difference. There's a difference between defending yourself and giving the right response. There's a difference between protecting your pride and protecting what really needs protection. When you stop defending yourself, you don't become weak. You become able to respond well. You respond to things from being clear rather than upset, from wisdom rather than hurt pride. If someone is spreading lies about you, you might choose to tell the truth, not because your good name is in danger, but because truth helps the whole situation better than lies. If someone is acting in ways that hurt others, you might choose to take action, not because they have hurt your personal idea of right and wrong, but because the good of everyone calls for a response. But you do these things without the upset feelings of personal defense. You act from the place of seeing what the situation needs, rather than what your pride demands. This is the difference between being a warrior and being a person who just reacts. The warrior acts from being centered, from being clear, from connection to the whole. The person who reacts acts from fear, from being separate, from the desperate need to protect a self that was never actually in danger. Let me share something with you that might sound different. Most of the things you think you need to defend yourself against are not actually happening. They're happening in your mind. In the stories you tell yourself about what other people think, about what their words mean, about what their actions say about you. You go on, you create a whole story in your head where you are the victim and they are the bad guy, and then you tire yourself defending against this made-up attack. Meanwhile, the other person might not even be thinking about you at all. They might just be having a bad day or showing their own confusion or simply being human in all the messy, not perfect ways that humans are. But even when someone is actually saying mean things about you, even when they're really trying to hurt or make you feel small, your choice not to defend doesn't make their attack more powerful. It makes it powerless. Think about it. If you throw a ball at a wall, it bounces back with the same force. But if you throw a ball into space, it just keeps going until it runs out of energy and disappears. When you refuse to bet the wall, when you become the space instead, the attack has nowhere to land. This is not weakness. This is the greatest strength. It's the strength of the sky that is never hurt by the storms that pass through it. It's the strength of the ocean that is never made less by the waves that rise and fall on its surface. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop defending yourself, you give others permission to stop attacking. When you refuse to play the game of fighting, you create space for real talking, for real understanding, for the kind of connection that's impossible when everyone is busy protecting their ideas. I remember watching two friends argue once. One was defending his political ideas, the other was attacking them. Back and forth they went, each one building higher walls, each one more sure they were right. Neither was actually listening to the other. They were just waiting for their turn to fire back with their words. But what if one of them had simply said, "You know, I hear that you see things differently than I do. Help me understand how you see it." What if instead of defending their position, they had become curious about the other's position? The whole feeling would have changed. Instead of enemies, they would have become fellow travelers comparing notes about how life looks to them. This is what happens when you stop defending yourself. You go on by the sign. You create space for real talking, for really meeting, for the kind of sharing that actually changes people, instead of just making stronger their current ideas. But the deepest reason to never defend yourself has nothing to do with tricks or plans or getting better results in your friendships. The deepest reason is that defense is based on not understanding what you are. You are not a thing that can be threatened. You are not an object that can be hurt. You are the awareness in which all experiences come and go. You are the consciousness that watches all thoughts, all feelings without being touched by any of them. When someone says mean things about you, when they attack your character or question why you do things, they're dealing with their idea of you, their mental picture of who they think you are. But that picture is not you. It's just a thought in their mind, no more real or threatening than a shadow on the wall. The real you, the awareness that is reading these words right now, the consciousness that has stayed the same through all the changes of your life, that you cannot be defended because it cannot be attacked. It is like space itself, big and open and untouchable. This is what the wise people mean when they speak of the self with a capital S. Not the small self of personal history and what you like, but the big self that is the same as the source of all that exists. When you realize that this is what you truly are, the need for defense simply goes away. You see, we defend ourselves because we believe we're separate, alone beings that must protect ourselves against a mean world. But this separation is atric, a game of consciousness that allows the universe to play hide and seek with itself. In reality, there is only one self appearing as many. There is only one consciousness showing itself through all the seemingly separate beings. When you attack another, you are attacking yourself. When another attacks you, they're attacking themselves. This is why defense doesn't work in the end. It's like the right hand trying to protect itself from the left hand. It's like one wave trying to defend itself against another wave, forgetting that they are both the same ocean. When this understanding comes, when you really see that there is neither, that everything and everyone is a costume worn by the one self, then defense becomes not only not needed, but impossible. How can you defend against yourself? How can you protect the ocean from the ocean? And so we come to the puzzle that lies at the heart of spiritual wisdom. The way to be truly safe is to have nothing to protect. The way to be truly strong is to offer no fighting back. The way to be truly free is to defend nothing, and yet this doesn't make you weak. It makes you like water, which is the softest thing in the world, yet can wear away the hardest stone. It makes you like space, which offers no resistance to anything, yet is never hurt by anything. When you live this way, when you move through the world without the constant need to defend and explain and prove yourself, people notice something different about you. There's a quality of ease, of freedom, of unshakable peace that draws them like flowers turning toward the sun. You become a safe place for others, a place where they can put down their own weapons, their own defenses, their own tiring need to prove themselves. This is the gift you give to the world when you stop defending yourself. You show that it's possible to live without armor, to walk through life with an open heart, to be fully human without being constantly at war with other humans. And in the end, this is what we all want, isn't it? To be accepted, to be seen, to be loved, not for what we do or our arguments, but for what we are beneath all the roles and masks and protective layers. When you stop defending yourself, you give yourself this gift. You stop needing others to say you're okay before you can be at peace with yourself. You stop making your happiness depend on winning arguments or changing minds or getting approval. You discover that you are already what you were looking for. You are already acceptable, already worthy, already complete. Not because of anything you've done or achieved, but because of what you are at the deepest level of your being. And from this place of being complete, from this knowing of your true nature, you can be in life fully and freely. You can speak your truth without needing others to accept it. You can act according to your values without needing others to approve. You can be yourself without needing others to understand at night. This is the greatest freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to be what you are without saying sorry, without defense, without the constant worry of whether you're good enough by some made-up standard. So the next time someone says mean things about you, the next time you feel that familiar urge to defend and explain and prove yourself, remember this: you are not what they think of you. You are not even what you think of you. You are the big awareness in which all these thoughts and opinions come and go like clouds in an endless sky. Rest in that awareness. Bet that sky. Let the weather of human drama move through you without being bothered by it.